interesting that in previous years it really was an IT project and portfolio management focused conference. In the last year or two, there's been an expanded attention across multiple business scenarios, and we see that as a trend in the market today. And the last point in terms of building community, ASUG is very active in the world of PPM, and Chris Bardi is the chairperson for the PPM Influence Council within ASUG. And I know Chris is always looking to recruit more customers and more SAP PPM users to join that community and take an active role. So anybody that wants to get in touch with Chris or get more information about the PPM Influence Council, then I'd be happy to pass that on. So really that was what I wanted to cover this morning, this sense of expanding community for PPM and some of the resources that you can tap into to become a member or a continued member of that community. So at this point, I'll pass it back to John, and thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ian, for that. And what I'd like to do next is just give a brief overview of GyanSys, just kind of who we are. We're a global company. We're working in all regions of the world right now, but we're small enough to give each client attention. And we are definitely focused and an SAP partner with New Dimension products and XApps as well. So we're typically some of the first ones to get access to that to help roll those out for deployment. As Ian hit on, we're definitely a big partner with ASUG and Sapphire. We do co-presentations with numerous of our clients. We also definitely love to partner with us there. And we have a large consulting pool, several hundred now at this point. We continue to grow, and those consultants are employees of GyanSys. So I just wanted to hit on that. We continue to grow. We've added 13 new clients just in the last 12 months here, so we're continuing to grow at an aggressive rate. And GyanSys is just some of our clients that we've worked with recently. Not all of them by far. But what we really want to talk about today is definitely our PLM and PPM practice here. We're very strong in this area than SAP. We also, with PPM, we have specifically for IT, a rapid deployment solution that meets pretty much any maturity level 1 through 3. And Tom's going to talk a little bit about that later as we get into it. For your questions today, we'd ask that you submit those to the webinar, through webinar chat, to the GyanSys Inc. host, and we will follow up on those questions at the end. As you go through, you're welcome to go ahead and submit those questions, and they'll be queued up, and then we'll answer those at the end. If for some reason we run out of time, we will answer those questions via email, follow up with each and every attendee. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Tom Martin, our Director of PLM and PPM.
Thanks, John, and hello to everybody. My name is Tom Martin. I head up the PLM and the PPM practice here at GyanSys. A little bit about my background. I've been in the PPM area since it really came out within SAP back in the 2004-2005 timeframe, some of the very early releases of what then was known as XRPM and C projects. But prior to that, I'd spent 8 years consulting SAP in the project systems area, all in project controls and capital budgeting and project management. And prior to getting into SAP in the mid-90s, I worked in the project controls department of various oil and gas companies in the North Sea and the UK. So my background is completely in project management and controls, the last 15 years or so within SAP. And what I want to do is get started with some of the common questions that we hear from CIOs at events and when we meet them and when we're on site. And the burning platform for them is that typically there's a situation where there's too many projects chasing too few resources. And everybody's working on too many things at the same time, and that causes projects to inevitably delay and slip. So that's one of the first questions. Will PPM help balance the supply-demand curve? And the next question is, can I leverage my big investment in SAP to date? And so typically most companies these days are running SAP HR. A lot of them are using the CATS time entry solution. They're using the project systems or the internal orders to capture IT costs. And so they want to leverage those existing investments and for total cost of ownership purposes. Another very important point is that every company is different, and we see that all the time. Many companies are working in spreadsheets today. They're frustrated, and as they've grown, the spreadsheets have started to really fall apart, and it takes a tremendous amount of administration just to keep things in sync. And so you get very large companies, very large IT organizations running in basically spreadsheet mode, and it's eventually something breaks, and there's a time to change and structure that within a PPM tool. So every company is different. There's different levels of maturity, and we address that, and I'll talk about that in just a couple of moments. And finally, one of the most important ones is, well, how much is all this going to cost me? And we'll get into that as well. So those are CIO questions. Let's look at some of the common needs of the PMO or the IT organization if you don't have a formal PMO. Now, I'm not going to go through these, but again, hopefully you'll resonate with some or all of them. What I actually want to do here is really just focus on the ones that are pertaining to resource management. And the reason I want to do that is because closed-loop resource management is a great term, but there's a lot of questions over, well, what really does that mean? Can you show me closed-loop resource management within SAP so I can understand it and relate to it within my organization? And that's why we chose closed-loop resource management to kick off our webinar series in 2012. So I alluded earlier to maturity level, and our approach is very much maturity level centric. And how did we get here? And to be honest with you, the reason we got here is because some of the earlier implementations of PPM, going back 6-7 years ago, and they weren't exactly stellar successes. In fact, in some cases they were outright failures. And we quickly realized the reason for that was because there's so much functionality in the system. It basically can operate at the level 5 maturity level. But to be honest, not many companies are at that maturity level 5, and nor do they need to be there. If you're in the business of project management, and resources are a major part of your business in the professional services industry, for example, then you need to have a very high level of maturity around project control. But if you're in the manufacturing industry and you've got an IT organization of between 100 and 200 people, then you don't need that same level of maturity. So every company is different, and the first thing we want to do is determine where are you in the maturity curve. And we want to make sure that the software and the technology that we align with aligns to that existing maturity. Because when you start to take on new processes and new technology, that's when you get into significant change management, and that is a different beast altogether. So our philosophy is to land the technology at your current level of maturity and then create a path for growth. And so how do we do that as a company? Well, we go to market with 3 very cost-effective, fixed price, fixed duration, rapid deployment solutions. This is within the IT portfolio. And the first option is where you really just want to get away from the spreadsheets. You want an inventory of projects. You just want basic stage gate control, and you just want to capture the main types of projects. And we can get all that in